in the audience. You're right.
Okay, that's just in the innocence.
Yeah.
She's not really?
Yeah.
I think so.
Yeah.
So please be comfortable there. I know it's a little bit cold, so the blankets. Yes.
Thank goodness it's no snow. First I
Yes.
was disappointed and my sister said, Lana, you don't have to shovel snow. Right.
Is this one good?
You know, it's going to be.
Okay.
Yeah, it's going to be. Thank you. Thank you.
One blanket.
In your experience, there is mind, meaning thoughts, perceptions, bodily sensations, memories, images, feelings, which are bodily sensations and thoughts. And there is that which is not mind, which cannot be described, cannot be measured, has no form. The presence that has no owner, that has no interests in getting something, going somewhere, holding on to a memory, an image. It has no phenomenal qualities. The reality that perceives, the reality that is. Formless, lacking nothing. Not an object that appears in time and space. We know it as peace. We know it as love. It cannot be described. We know it as universal wisdom. That is not subject to any condition. We know it as I. the I that has no gender, that precedes images, precedes the mind. That energizes the mind as it creates it, perceives it, dreams it, moment by moment, a moment that has no time dimension. So it's not even a moment. The I, the self, precedes the name that is given to the body, precedes the formulation of thought. And this I permeates the appearance of names, permeates thought, permeates bodily sensations. Although it is invisible, although it is unmanifest, although it precedes all manifestation, it permeates all manifestation. That is how you know a thought or a perception. It's via the I, via the self. It is the self that is knowing via itself. A direct knowingness that requires no effort, no doing, no subject or object. Recognizing itself, it recognizes the peace that it is. Relying on thought You imagine yourself. Relying on thoughts and on sensations. You believe yourself to be made out of thought and sensation. And so you refer to yourself as somebody, as a personal body-mind. And you experience the sorrow, the angst, the sense of lack and incompleteness. And so you seek the peace that deep down in your heart you know you are. You seek it in various activities. You seek it in thinking. You seek it in your imagination. And in this seeking, the happiness in your sensation and your perceptions, you are veiling the inherent peace of the self. You are veiling your inherent knowingness. And you become more and more fascinated with the stories and the feelings and the sensations and the imagination. But sooner or later you realize that that's the path of multiplicity, the path of diversity. That does not reveal your inherent unicity, your inherent wholeness. Everything that you need is available to you. There are no imperfections to God's creation. You are well equipped to contemplate, to reason, to investigate truth, the reality of the self. What is it? What is the reality of my experience right now? Not what thoughts are appearing, what sensations are appearing. Not what is the internal weather or the external weather. What is the reality of the weather? What is the reality of the self? We know deep down in our being that there is one reality. we know deep down in our being and via our contemplation that thoughts, sensations, and perceptions come and go. We know that in our direct experience. And we also know in our direct experience that awareness, presence, isness, whatever it is that is, does not come and go and is not created by thought. It is that which knows thought, which perceives thought, and is not subject of thought. We know in our experience is the reality of presence, the reality of awareness. Even there is one reality, the reality of your experience, whatever your experience may be, is that one reality, the reality of consciousness, awareness. As long as you continue to stand apart from your experience as a separate subject, you will continue to experience some concerns, some issues as a separate subject. Like in your night dream, you're dreaming that you are being chased by a hungry lion. As long as you remain in the dream, you will continue to experience the concerns about being subject to the lion's hunger. Upon awakening, you perceive the dream to be a dream. You are no longer a subject within the dream, running away from various dream characters. You know yourself as that. The wakefulness, the awakeness of the self. That which is not an object. So you can bring in your life the contemplation of truth. So if there are any questions in the room. Any questions?
Thoughts come and go, emotions come and go, but consciousness remains the same. This then we say that consciousness also is nurtured through experiences in our life, because is consciousness the same entity thing that were with us since we were children, or consciousness has been nurtured also by experiences in life? Is there any slight change in consciousness, or is it permanent?
Right. Is there any change in consciousness, and is consciousness nurtured by our experiences, or is consciousness the same? That's your question. Yes. So if you look at in your experience at what is nurtured, obviously the body is nurtured, the mind is nurtured in so many ways. Right now, one could say that we are nurtured via the breathing, the oxygenation of the body-mind. We are nurtured via the functioning of the body and the functioning of the cosmos, which is integrally connected to the functioning of the organism in terms of the gravity, the universal radiation, and the cosmic realm and the realm of the human body, right? Intrinsically connected and nurture each other. So there is water, rain that comes down, it nurtures the plants and nurtures the human body. It's 70% water, etc. Now, in terms of the question, is consciousness also nurtured throughout our experiences? Now, when you say our experiences, we're experiencing perceptions, thoughts, and sensations. Yes, this is to sum up our experience. We perceive via the senses. And we also mentate. We perceive thoughts, memories, images. And we also perceive bodily sensations. This is the realm of our experiences. And when we're referring to consciousness, we are not referring to something that is experienced. You don't experience consciousness. You experience something. The you that experiences. That's what we refer to as consciousness. The I that experiences, whatever that is real right now, that perceives, that's what we refer to as consciousness. So consciousness is not an object that is perceived. You may perceive a thought about consciousness. For example, the thought, oh wow, consciousness is really great. You know, consciousness is yellow. That's a thought about consciousness. You perceive a thought, you may perceive a thought about consciousness, but you do not perceive consciousness, yes? You do not perceive consciousness. Now, whatever you perceive is nurtured. For example, you perceive the body as bodily sensation and you nurture it. For example, if there is a hunger, you attend to the hunger. You will go, you will make some salad, or you will have some lunch. You will take care of the body. If there are thoughts that are arising, that are negative thoughts about your neighbor, you may nurture these thoughts by not feeding them, or nurture them by feeding them. So, you know, you can positively nurture something or negatively nurture something. So what you nurture is something. You do not nurture something that is not appearing to you. Consciousness does not appear to you as an object. Yeah. Consciousness does not appear to you as an object. Consciousness refers to I. Right now, I, whatever I is that hears these words, is I that you cannot perceive, but that perceives. That has no form, although the words have form, the sounds have form. That perceives the sound has no form. Although the letters on the paper are made out of black ink and have certain shapes, the E is like that and the D is like that. The paper itself does not have the form, as a metaphor, does not have the form. Although the clouds have a certain shape and a certain form, the wide open sky, the infinite vastness that we refer to as space, has no form. The space in this room has no form, although the couch, the rug, the table, the laptop, the glasses have a form. The space that is not visible via the senses has no form. These are all metaphors, of course. Consciousness has no form. So the consciousness that when you were driving an hour ago, that same presence, beingness that was driving is that same presence, beingness that is right now. The same I that yesterday had dinner is the same I that is right now sitting here. It's actually not sitting. The body is sitting. It is the same I. If you contemplate the I of across time, you will find there are not two I's. You will find that there are many bodies There is the body of the 10-year-old, the body of the 12-year-old, the body of the 20-year-old, the body of the 30-year-old. There are many experiences you will find throughout the day, throughout the hour, throughout the minute. You will find there are many experiences that you will always find the same I, one I. Now, sometimes we confuse consciousness with feelings, personal beliefs, the personal growth, what we refer to as the evolution. My evolution, I've evolved, I've become more, wise, I've learned how to live better, I've learned how to navigate my life better, etc. We refer that's an evolution of consciousness. But that's not what I mean by consciousness. The learning of the body-mind. So the body of a 2-month-old baby does not know that the hot boiling water is hurtful for the body. But one day, by accident, maybe they touch that. Or the mother and the father will take care of the baby, say, no. Don't touch that hot water is hot. The baby at 2-month-old doesn't know what hot is. But slowly, they learn hot. Hot is, to be careful when I hear hot or when I see hot. They learn over time. So that's a learning that refers to the body-mind. The same thing with a cat or a monkey or a parrot. You can take a parrot. You can take actually an elephant and you can train the elephant. Or you can take maybe a rabbit and you can train the rabbit to a certain extent. There are limitations to every organism. You can take a tree and you can train the tree to become a bonsai. That's what the whole bonsai magnificent way of training a seed. The seedling of a pine tree. I mean, a 20-foot tall pine tree can be trained to be a bonsai of 1 foot tall, and it looks like a magnificent, mature tree. So the training, the evolution, refers to that realm of the body-mind, the evolution of the mind. For example, like if you're 100 years ago, the mind believed that the earth was flat. There's been an evolution now. Everybody, I would hope so, understands that the earth, the planet Earth, is not flat. And some people way back when believed that the earth was the center of the cosmic realm. And at this point, over time, over the evolution of the mind, there has been a different understanding. Same thing with the evolution of the body in terms of how now we live and how we take care of the body. We have such great understanding about various ways in which of caring of the body and caring of the environment. Of course, we are in many cases stupid and we ignore that, we violate that, but we do have the understanding. Maybe not the wisdom, but the understanding is there. So coming back to your question, is that you have to look at that directly for yourself and come to first clarity about what you mean by consciousness. What do we mean by consciousness when we say consciousness? When we refer to consciousness, we're not referring to something. Things can grow or can recede, can improve, can get better, can become heavier, lighter, etc. But we're not referring to a gross object, nor are we referring to a subtle object. Thought is a subtle object. A memory is a subtle object. A recollection is a subtle object. still in the realm of objects. Consciousness is that is not in the realm of objects. But you cannot deny it because it is that perceives the subtle realm and the gross realm. Now, you could say, well, if it perceives, then it must be some sort of object. But we have to take it a little further. Say, consciousness perceives. But when you look at the object of its perception, for example, a tree or a thought, when you look at the object of the perception of consciousness, of I, you will find that the object is intimate with the I. In other words, you will not find a tree out there in the yard. You will find a thought that says the tree is in the yard. You will find a thought that will say, well, wait a minute, no, I am here and the tree is there. And in most cases, we believe the thought. We say, okay, that's what the thought says. In most cases, we say, yes, the thought says, I am here and the tree is there. The I, meaning awareness, is here and the tree is there. And sometimes we also say, well, wait a minute, we also feel, I feel it. I feel like I'm here and that you are over there. So I'm not denying the feeling, but believing the feeling. We believe that the feeling knows. Because when we believe, and if we are smart and not stupid, we will believe what is true and we will disregard what is not true. For example, if somebody today comes and tells you, hey, this country is called China, you will not believe it. You will say, no, this country is called America. But if somebody comes and tells you the earth is flat, you will not believe him. You will say, okay, it's good. I hear you. I see what you are saying, but I do not believe you. So we perceive a sensation. The sensation says, or a feeling, I'm here and you're there. And we believe it. Now, it is smart to believe something that we know is true, but it is not wise to believe something that is not true. And how do we know if it's true or not true? Because the thought or the feeling is saying, I am true, I am true, I am true. Just because the feeling is saying, I am true, I am here and you're there, does not mean just because the feeling is insistent, or just because the thought is insistent, and just because the thought is shared by everybody, and everybody is insisting, this does not mean that it would be wise to believe that. Because even if you had 1 million people around you right now that would tell you the earth is flat, the earth is flat, the earth is flat, it would be wise for you not to believe them. Because why? You know. You know for yourself. Why? You have seen photos and you've experienced the astronauts when they were filming the earth, that the earth, you saw pictures of the earth being round. So you have to go to your direct experience. When you go to your direct experience that the I is an object, meaning consciousness is an object, therefore it evolves, because that was your initial question. If the I is an object and the tree is a subject, you have to go to your direct experience and see if that is true according to your experience. And what is a better way or best way to go to your experience than right now? So let's look at it right now, yes? Right now, you're perceiving this perception. You're perceiving this table. Where is your perception of the table? Because I am presenting to you that before you perceive the table, you are perceiving your perception of the table. You are perceiving your perception. We perceive our perception. Our experience is the experience of our perception. Where is our perception? Is it 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 centimeters away from us? It's a 0 centimeter from us. There is an intimacy to our perception, meaning the object, so-called object, that we perceive, and the so-called subject that perceives. The I that perceives and the perceived are intimate because I am perceiving my perception at 100% myself, at a zero distance of myself. When two objects are zero distance of each other, they are one object. When two are at zero distance of each other, they are one. So in fact, I am experiencing myself, you could say, as the tree. I am perceiving myself as a perception. Another way of saying it is, the I, which is formless, takes on the impression of a form while remaining as itself, because it cannot leave itself. Where would it go? Where would it go? The body can leave the living room and go to the kitchen. Yes. The dog can leave the house, go into the yard. But the I cannot leave itself. Does not leave itself. There is nowhere to go. There is just the I. There isn't like a somewhere, because a somewhere is an image. Think, for example, of your home right now. Yes? Which is somewhere. Your home, you experience it right now as an image. We would refer to as a memory, or yes? That's your experience of your home right now. When you go to your home, you will experience your home as perception. Right? And you may experience your home also as a thought, because you may be in the living room and you're remembering the kitchen because you're hungry. So the kitchen will appear to you as a flash, a thought. But the perception of your home and the perception of the kitchen as an image that arises for you when you are in your living room, they're both perceptions within yourself. They're intimately within yourself. You experience the perception intimately as yourself. Although thought will always say, it is out there. I am here, it's out there. It will, via your contemplation, that thought will come back to its proper place. And the feeling that I am here and the tree is there, with the proper contemplation, it will come back to its proper place. Like, for example, when you look at the cloud and you see a dragon, and you know, oh, dragon. Upon the correct contemplation of the dragon, the cloud will return, the dragon will return to the cloud. It will reveal itself to be not a dragon. So, a long answer to your question. The answer is no. Consciousness does not. If
You get extra credit.
whatever arises in time and space, you could say is subject to the conditions. For example, a seed arises in the space. It's subject to various conditions that also arise in the space, like the rain and the earth and the weather and the sunlight. They are subject to various conditions. They are subject to experiences. If they experience a rain, good sunshine, they will grow. That seed will grow. If it experiences drought and it's in the shade, no sun is reaching it, it will not grow until the conditions will change. But consciousness is not in the phenomenal realm. It is that which is contemplating itself. It is that which is right now hearing his words. Via, of course, the body-mind instrument. It is not the body-mind that hears. It is not the instrument that perceives.
So conscience is not in time, it's not in space.
No.
So it's the same regardless time, so it's the same that is happening now that it was when I was a child.
Mm-hmm. Is consciousness the same now as you were a child? Yes. Now, you have to be clear that you were never a child. The body was a child. The body was what we call a child. In German, they don't call it a child. In Chinese, they use another word. They don't say child. And in some tribes, maybe, I don't know, I haven't done much experience with it. Maybe they don't even have names for children. Maybe they don't even have the word child. But the point that I wanted to make is that the body is, you could say, it's a 12-year-old body, 16. At what age do we say child? Is it at 2 months, 4 months, 2 years, 4 years, or 3 years, or 6 years, or 12 years? It's constantly changing, the body. Via the breath, for example, the inhalation is one condition. Exhalation is a different condition of the body. The sanguine flow in the body is constantly changing depending on the age of the body. The arteries changing, the conditions are changing. So yes, it does not change in time and space. Time, what is it? If you look at time, what do you look at? So you say, well, let's look at time now. So we say, let's look at time now. What do we look at? Yeah, what do we look at? Because we're speaking of, you said time and space, so time, when we say time, what do we say? What is your experience? We all speak of time, right? I mean,
There is no time. There's a moment when the imagination goes on either side of it. Time itself. It's just a word we give now.
so time, you say, is the name we give to now.
Actually, we give to the outside, past to the future.
Past and the future. So what is the past and the future? So time is the past and the future.
Imagination.
Yeah, you could say. Like the way I experience time is an image arises about, for example, breakfast, or this morning there were guests over our house. Is a memory, an image that arises, a memory you call it, a thought that arises. So that's how I experience time. I experience time as a current image that arises. Well, a thought, yeah, a thought is an image, a thought. And there were visitors this morning here, so that was this morning. So the experience of time, as you were saying, is a thought that arises right now. So thought is what we refer to as time. But when there isn't a thought, like right now, for example, well, what's time?
It doesn't exist.
Yeah.
That's
So,
clear to me.
right. So, but thought arises. For example, you remember maybe your mother, you know, when 10 years ago, or whatever, 20 years ago, or a good friend, this thought may arise. And, oh, that was when we were together in Florida, or, you know, so say that's time. It arises as a current. See, nothing arises anywhere else but in the presence. And the time, the thoughts that arise have very important functional purposes. For example, you maybe start to cook something and you go into your office, or you go into the bedroom to do something. A thought will arise, an image will arise of, oh, it's the food. I have to go down, turn the flame off under the stove, you see? So it's very functional. It is some sort of thinking realm and feeling realm that arises for the human, and maybe for the animal kingdom too. I don't know. That is very functional and helpful. Yes? So but what's functional and helpful is always functional and helpful right now. Who cares about that I was hungry 10 years ago or yesterday? Right? What matters is the hunger that arises now and says, oh, the food is in the kitchen. See? I did the shopping yesterday. Oh yes, I do have tomatoes. How do I know I have tomatoes? Because a thought arises. It's very subtle. You don't even see it. It's so quick. That, yeah, yesterday I bought tomatoes. I was at mom's and I bought tomatoes. So I can make a salad. Consciousness doesn't arise like that. Oh, well, consciousness, yeah, yesterday consciousness, you know, was whatever. I don't know how to make a sentence with that. Whenever we are thinking of consciousness, there are two options. Or we are thinking of some concept of consciousness, which is an object, because a concept is a thought. A thought is a subtle object. Or we are contemplating consciousness itself, which is not an object, meaning we are right now looking at the reality. What is it that is real right now? And that goes outside of the realm of the objective and the subjective realm. It is the I contemplating the I. Okay, I'm looking at the YouTube channel. So there is a question, or I'm not sure if it's a question. So I don't know your name, but you go by U22. That's a good one. Is it common in the group to feel awareness ebb and flow in lucid dream? Is it common in the group to feel awareness ebb and flow in lucid dreams as it does in daily life? Is it common in the group to feel awareness ebb and flow in lucid dreams as it does in daily life? I don't know. I don't have an experience of awareness ebbing and flowing in daily life. You speak as if indeed awareness ebbs and flows in daily life. Daily life meaning this very moment. Whatever it is that ebbs and flows is in the realm of what we experience, what we perceive. What we perceive, you could say it ebbs and flows, whatever that means, meaning it's changing, it's moving, it's fluid, it's dynamic. But awareness doesn't ebb and flow with whatever objects ebb and flow. For example, when you are in your bed at night, dreaming, having a night dream, there are all sorts of things happening in your night dream, all sorts of ebb and flow, but you are in bed. You're not ebbing and flowing, as a metaphor. Or like a screen, a movie screen, when there is a movie that's being projected on the screen, there may be a world war happening on the screen, or a volcanic eruption happening on the screen, a big time ebb and flow, but nothing is happening at the screen. The screen is not ebbing and flowing. So that's not my experience, that awareness ebbs and flows, although there is a lot of dynamic in our waking dream. You also say, is it worth distinguishing within the spectrum of objects to processes? Is it worth distinguishing within the spectrum of objects to processes? I'm not sure I fully understand the question, but I would say that it is important to distinguish two important distinctions, two aspects, let's say, that are important in making distinctions. First, there is, of course, the practical aspect. It's important to be able to distinguish between a lion that's running at you and the duck that's quacking and walking towards you. In the first case, you better run to the closest tree. In the second case, if you have a piece of bread or something, you can feed the duck. So there is a practical aspect to being able to distinguish, how to make decisions, to be able to discriminate between a relationship that is flowing, that has some potential in it, and a relationship that is not. It's important to have that sort of discrimination. The other aspect that's important in this distinction, which is the viveka, the discrimination, it is very important to discriminate between the false and the true. Now, the false, in terms of the Advaitic teaching, is the belief that I am the body-mind, that I am a mortal body-mind. The body-mind is mortal, yes. But I am the mortal body-mind? No. Why no? Because you perceive the body-mind. You experience the body-mind as sensations, bodily sensations, as perceptions. You perceive the body-mind, that is 10-year-old, 12-year-old, 13-year-old, 20-year-old. The body is changing, is moving step by step towards its death, the death of the body. But the I that is perceiving the body is the same I, unchanged and unchanging, whether the body is 20-year-old or 21 years old. Refer to I, it is important to have the distinction, the discrimination between the I as the changeless self and I that we refer to in ignorance as the body-mind. You're right, the mind was also a child. A child is a process, as we all are even now. You could say that the mind was a child, for example, like the body-mind of a 4-year-old and the body-mind of a 50-year-old, are different minds, yes. So there is a body-mind, it's a package deal, let's say. Yes, a package deal. But you say a child is a process, yes, you could say that. And you say, as we all are even now. I don't agree with that. Because I could agree that the body-minds are a process, but the I, you say we all are, when we say we, you are referring to I. The I is not the body-mind. The body-mind is a process. There is the body-mind of a 10-year-old and the body-mind of an 8-year-old or a 50-year-old. But the we, meaning the I, the we is actually only I. There is not a we. When you say we, what do you mean? You have to look at that. When you say we, you are referring to I and somebody else. You're referring to bodies, body-minds. So the body-mind, you have to be very precise in distinguishing between that phenomenal dimension that is a process and the I that is not a process. So that's what's missing in your question or in your statement. What is missing is the recognition of that which is not a process, which is you could say, the source, the dreamer of all processes, which is the I. It's one last part to your question or to your comments. You say time is changed from one state to another, from one thought to another, from not knowing to knowing. Yeah, you could say that time is changed, meaning the body of a 10-year-old and the body of a 40-year-old are subject to time, yes. But what I'm more interested in is what is our experience of time, you see? We all understand that there is time, that it takes 2 hours. We have clocks and watches to drive from here to Philadelphia or whatever. But what is your experience of time? That's what matters most. And yes, you could say time is change, time is a process. From not knowing to knowing. Well, change from one state to another, from not knowing to knowing. In terms of knowing, there are two aspects to knowing. There is knowing my experience, meaning I know there is an oak tree in the yard, meaning I am sharing my perception. I recognize my perception. And I know I am perceiving. There is a knowing, I know I am perceiving. And then there is, I know I am. The I know I am and the I know I am perceiving are two different aspects of knowing. One requires an object of your knowingness, and the other is objectless, which we refer to as self-knowingness. If you remain, which is the case in ignorance, knowing objects and do not come to your self-knowingness, then I would say your knowingness is not complete. The knowingness is not complete. And the contemplation needs to go further and deeper into this question. Okay. Okay. Are there any questions here? Yes, Holly.
I'd ask a little, since the YouTube person asked some about dreaming and stuff like that. I wanted to sort of mention, because you've talked about some things you can do, while you're falling asleep, watching the, personality dissolve, and when you wake up, kind of watching it reform. And I don't think I've done as much work with the falling asleep.
Yes.
But I've done some work with the waking up, and what I often find for me, almost exclusively, is I'm dreaming right before I wake up.
Mm-hmm.
So I already wake up with a sense of falling pretty well intact, because I was just fighting with someone, or whatever was happening in the dream. But I also have some other experiences during the nighttime occasionally that I don't really feel like I have much control over, but feel like some fairly spontaneous occurrences. One time I was in a sort of half awake stage. I didn't feel like I was dreaming, and I had an experience where it felt like the edge of my body dissolved, and I felt very, very, very clearly it seemed like the I was the only thing. I'll sometimes have experiences in dreams where I feel like some contemplation is happening. So I don't know, that's what's happening for me with nighttime.
Yes, in the night dreams. And okay. So the contemplation of what is the reality of my experience? What is the reality of consciousness? What is it? Going directly to that. That the I is not something that arises. It's not something that appears. It's not what appears. And it is right now. And it's not in time. Thoughts appear to it that refer to time. But that which I is. It's not something that appears, therefore it's not in time. Thoughts are in time. So the contemplation is during the waking state. The waking state is the fertile ground, the laboratory of sort for the contemplation. And that contemplation can take the form of coming to satsang, can take the form of, reading and contemplating the scriptures, and also in your life, in your daily life, to be observing the tendencies of being downloaded as, oh, I'm holy, I'm this person, and that. Just the noticing, because the noticing in itself is different, but it's there. Notice that I'm, about me, and the noticing is very important. Don't worry about doing good noticing or staying, just it's there. But the interest, you see, is not just to come to satsang but to live as best as you can, as best as possible, in the spirit of the contemplation, and to invite, be open to the contemplation to come into your life, no matter if you're driving at work, having lunch, whatever. In terms of your night, when some point during the day, then things start to shift. The sunlight, the day starts to shift. It starts to get darker and so on. The body starts to also, in spite of the fact we have all sorts of stimulation with electricity and computers and etc., there is a certain shift. It's a very subtle shift that starts to happen. Notice that. Notice, for example, like right now, as the day is changing, that also in the body mind it's changing. This softening and the gentle, unnoticeable dissolution that's starting well before you go to bed. It's starting to dissolve. It's not like suddenly I go to bed and boom. Okay, it's already starting to dissolve. This noticing is important to realize that, in fact, this body-mind is not this concrete object. You take it now, you put it in bed, then you get out of bed, now it's awake. It's not like that. It's as the gentleman, the person was saying, it's process. It's intimate with the entire cosmic realm. So it's just the cosmic realm that is. And you to be sensitive to that. At some point, when you go to sleep, there is a process. The activity of the day, meaning the current thinking is still the thinking is still the current is still energized and excited by being engaged in the world as a person. And if you can notice that the tendency to remain, as you go to sleep, to remain engaged in waking state activities, him and her, and my work, and my this and my that, and my whatever it is. Notice this and invite it to. It's not its time now. If something needs to be resolved, it will arise for you, but it's not its time. We have a tendency to hold on, to stay unnecessarily with thought and mind activities. We have difficulty in letting them go because we somehow feel our identity, our sense of self is connected with maintaining the story, maintaining the thinking. So invite yourself to let it go. And the body is calling, like babies. Babies are really good at that. They're calling to, I want to let it go. The babies, and then he put them in mommy's arms or whatever, you put them in a hip, and they're like, they're like, let go. The body is calling for that. So invite the body to go into its vastness, to go into its vastness. Because the body now, we don't need you. We don't need you to get up and cook anything. We don't need you to go shopping. We don't need you down in the office. We don't need you right now. You can go now. And so we invite the body and experience, because it's so intimate. Experience this beautiful. It's lovely. It's like dimming the light. To experience that, because you're there. You're not somewhere else. Experience that. Experience. If you want to use the imagery of sinking or floating, the flow, every vibration in your body is just releasing and dissolving. Experience that. Because so that you don't need to carry anything. Now, in time, as your contemplation matures and deepens, it's unavoidable. It is ripening. It's happening already. It will start to come into your dream state. Okay, now you are in the dream state, and there are dreams. In the dreams, there are all sorts of arisings, activities, which are dream mind. But there's also, in the dream state, not throughout the entire dream, but on occasion, maybe numerous occasions, there is also the me. There is still the I, which still hasn't dissolved completely out of the space. And it will arise to make the dream unhappy, because that's all it does. The personal self. When I say I, am meaning the me. The me, Holly, me, Magdi, me the good, me the bad, me the pretty, me the rich, me the poor, me the whatever it is. All the me stories, which is a bundle of thoughts and feelings. It just arises to make the dream unhappy. So there is, because the dream by itself is neutral. It's neutral. It's just images on a screen. The unhappiness is what comes, from the me. But there is the subtle effect of the contemplation that will come in. It is also occurring throughout the space. It's not divided. It's not like, okay, I'm contemplating the self from 8 a.m. to 8 p.m. and now it's not that like that. This is just thought about time. There are no divisions. There are really no divisions. It's one continuous realm. So there's going to be a healing process, let's say, of the separate self that will occur effortlessly in your night dream. There may be, and it's not necessary, but there may be also in your dream an awareness that arises about the personal self. What is it that is concerned? Or what is this I right now that I'm experiencing? So that may arise. And when that arises, then it's important, if you can, to stay with that. It's possible that in your night dream, you're also contemplating actively, sort of as if you're awake, some aspect of you is awake, that is contemplating. What is this I? What is this Holly? What is this Holly? Just that. Okay. And the waking state is a reverse process. It can be faster or slower, depending on your life. But it's again the process of the body is returning. Now suddenly there is a foot, there is a blanket. There was no blanket before. Now there's a blanket. There is a shoulder. There's that feel. The body will come back and thoughts will start. Okay. Now it's important to notice that There is a tendency in ignorance, the thought are concerns about me, which is different from, for example, recollecting that, oh, I have to be downtown at 9 a.m. because I have a 9:30 meeting. That's a practical thought. It has to do with food, shelter, and clothing. Without the thoughts about the body-mind will take, it needs this sort of practical thinking. But there are other types of thoughts that are about me in a psychological sense, in a feeling sense, which have to do with projection, the projection of, what will happen to me if, which is part of our having forgotten our true nature. Because in true nature never asks itself what's going to happen. Always when we forget our true nature and we return to being Holly or Magdi or somebody, a body-mind that reduces concern and worry. Be watchful of the thoughts as they arise, because they have a tendency to sort of implant themselves. They want to just, let's get back into our old pattern of worrying and, feeling, No. Just notice your thoughts as trust the universe, trust consciousness. You have no better friend to trust than consciousness, which in the religious circle they refer to as God. There is no better hands for you to put your hand in than the hands of consciousness. It is taking care of everything, as long as you do not let go of that hand and hold on the hand of Hari. Okay. Finally, don't be so concerned about how this whole process unfolds. It is quite mysterious. It's quite magical. It is God's dream. And you know what? God is a great dreamer. Mm-hmm. She knows how to dream. She doesn't need our help. She doesn't need us to worry. All right? Let her be. Right? You're in good hands. Yes,
well,
Jack.
On the same token, just in the course of talking here, I realized that one of the things that sustains this state of mind of just, of not being free, not only the storytelling, but the tendency to observe and label emotions that they arise. And it occurs to me that I don't need to do that. If I can experience it energetically, without rushing to label it, then there's a potential growth.
Yes, absolutely. Absolutely. To experience them energetically. And also not to distance yourself. Do not distance yourself in any way. Come as intimately as possible. Die into it. Do not stand apart from anything that you're experiencing, especially when it comes to the feelings and the emotions. And of course, yes, not labeling. Labeling them is one way of thinking and avoiding. So we label, we think, and we avoid. Okay. Shoot. Okay, it's 4:30. I have 2 questions that were sent to me that I need to get to. Let me very quickly, and there are people online. Let me see this happy face on the YouTube channel. Oh, by the way, you are welcome. You too. You're welcome. Happy face, you say, is trying to awaken just the mind, not being happy with what is. And since the mind is only a projection of our true self and has no real power over me awareness, is it necessary to spend this life trying to get somewhere? Surely awareness will just wake itself up and see the dream when it's ready to. Sorry, words make this sound wrong. Hopefully you understand what I'm trying to say. Sometimes I'm so over this non-duality except when I'm in fear in the mind, then I'm back searching. It's nice when I'm present and know I am. Why can't I just be happy with knowing I am? Thanks in anticipation if you have time. Cheers, I enjoy your satsang. Oh. Okay. We may not get to the questions that were emailed to me, but we'll get to them next time. And because I also want to see if people online have any questions. So yes, let me take a look at your question, Happy Face. Yes. So is trying to awaken just the mind not being happy with what is? There is no one trying to awaken. In fact, there may be a thought that there is someone trying to awaken. Because what you are isn't trying anything. What you imagine yourself to be is trying. But what you imagine yourself to be is like imagining Santa Claus. Is Santa Claus trying to awaken? Maybe. Who knows? It's just a dream, Santa Claus. So in fact, there is no one trying to awaken. And the mind not being happy with what is. And since the mind is only a projection of our true self and has no real power over me, the mind you say the mind is not happy with what is. It's impossible for the mind to be happy with what is, as long as you have not realized your true nature. The mind will continue to be unhappy with what is. Even if you accept the Advaitic thing, all there is what is, as long as you have not realized your true nature, even accepting that all what there is what is, will not bring you the peace and the happiness of the self. To understand that there is nothing to achieve and that there is nobody that needs to awaken will not bring you the peace and the happiness of the self. It has to go deeper than just your understanding. It has to be your direct living experience 24/7. So please be watchful not to shorthand yourself. Is that the correct English? Be careful not to, thank you, not to shortchange yourself by reasoning, by having a correct spiritual reasoning or Advaita reasoning without the full experience of your self-knowingness. Remain in the inquiry, even though it may feel like it's dead end sometimes. I understand that. It's part of the journey. As long as you remain sincere with yourself, not to shortchange yourself with a semi-happiness with a compromising their happiness. Oh, I'm happy, and some things I'm not happy, but it's okay. Not to sweep the dust under the carpet. That you're only doing it to yourself, because nobody else cares really. So take good care not to do that. I'm not saying that you are, please. I'm just speaking to that.
Magdi, in the middle of the YouTube too, there was one from Abdul.
Oh, I didn't see it.
Yeah, it's in the, it was.
Okay. Okay, let me, so just it's trying to awaken just the mind not being happy with what is, and since the mind is only a projection of our true self and has no real power over me awareness, is it necessary to spend this life just to know yourself, to awaken to your true nature? It's not about getting somewhere, because there is nowhere. It's you are that, but you cannot just accept conceptually that I am that without the living experience that I am that. In other words, you cannot accept conceptually or as a new belief that there is nowhere to go and nothing to achieve without your direct experience. Like, what is it, like in Christianity, one of the disciples, he had to put his hand in the wound, in the wound. You have to have your direct experience for yourself that there is nowhere to go and no one to go anywhere. You say sometimes I'm so over this non-duality. Don't worry about non-duality. It's just a label. Forget about non-duality. If don't make it a hurdle. People non-duality, not duality. Who cares? It's about happiness. Okay. Call it anything you want. It doesn't matter as long as it's happiness. You say sometimes I'm over this. Okay. Then I'm back searching. It's nice when I'm present. Okay. You are always present. Where else would you be besides being present? But you are not just present, you are presence itself. You see, your presence itself is different from being present, because an object is present. Oh, yeah, I'm present. Like in the army, they say, I'm present, as somebody. But your presence is not like an object. Presence is a transparent, is a transparency. And we know that we are presence because we are that. We are this presence, yes? So contemplate not just I am present, but I am presence itself. You are never anything else but presence. Anything that appears to you, even the thought that says I am absent, appears to presence. Nothing can be experienced outside of presence. Presence, awareness, consciousness. And I'm not sure if I answered all your question, Happy Face, but you can always send me an email if I didn't fully cover your question. Tara, I don't see the other question. Somehow it didn't appear on my screen, on my YouTube screen. Okay, any questions online?
Hi, Magdi.
Hello, Anne.
Can you hear me okay?
I hear you very okay.
Okay, good. It might be a couple of questions, and I'm not sure how to put it because I'm a little bit confused by it, but I feel I often have glimpses, but then afterwards, maybe the day after, I question whether they were glimpses or not. There's like, I'm really quite sure at the time.
Okay.
And like the last one I had was probably yesterday.
Can I interrupt you?
Yeah.
Okay. Now, a glimpse is it's not a thought. So you perceive a thought.
Mm.
So let's say that you are looking at something, or you're it's a good example that Francis uses all the time is you're listening to a joke. Somebody is telling you the joke. They tell you that they start the joke, they say some more, they say some more, they say some more, and at some point you're still listening to the story, and at some point they say the punchline. When they say the punchline, you get it and you laugh.
Yeah.
So until the punchline, there is thought. But when the punchline happens, there is getting it. Getting it is like insight. There is no thought. And then after getting it, there is a thought that arises. Oh, wow, that was a great joke. Okay? So an insight is similar as a metaphor looking at the joke. And during the insight, as a matter of speech, because there is no time to insight. So the word during doesn't apply, but as a matter of speech, you have to talk. So an insight does not occur in time. Given that it does not occur in time, there is no one there.
Yeah.
So there is.
Yeah, I've heard that before. Yeah, I understand that.
So when you say the insight goes or the insight doesn't have effect, blah, 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 these are thoughts that are rising after the insight.
Yeah.
Okay?
They are.
So the insight are not in time. They're not of the mind. They're beyond that. There is direct apperception of truth. And they have various effects. Sometimes the medicine you take cures your headache in 5 minutes. Sometimes the medicine you take will cure your ailment over a longer period of time, an incubation period or whatever, So to be looking at the effects of an insight, oh, I had an insight, wow, but yeah, I'm feeling the same all doo-doo that I felt before. That's not the way to look at an insight. Insight is not something for the mind to ruminate about, because the mind is only ruminating about an idea that it has about the insight, which is not an idea.
Right.
Okay.
I understand. Yeah, that's clear.
Okay.
Thank you.
Okay.
The other thing is that I get, and this seems to be growing more and more. I get a lot of peace. And can you hear me okay? I can turn it up a bit.
Yes, the peace. It's good. Okay. Peace is very good. Yes.
Yeah, it is very good. But the thing is, and I'm not sure if my mind's, there's a but.
But the peace, okay, what is it?
Yeah. But the thing is that I'm not sure again whether this is happening afterwards. But say today, I spent about 2-3 hours. I don't even know how long it was. I was out and about, and then in the car, a bit of shopping, doing everything, then sitting in the car listening to music quietly. And a lot of the time, what happens is that I'm in I don't know if it's a state or it's very peaceful, and there's no thoughts at all, or hardly any. It's just a quietness, a total stillness, and it's really beautiful, and it feels a bit like,
okay,
if the mind had to come. Yeah, go on.
Can I interrupt you?
Yeah.
Okay. Don't get attached to that. Okay?
No.
Sometimes this is like that. Sometimes it is like this. Okay?
Yes,
Whichever way it is, I am. Whichever way the appearance is, the experience is, I am. So as you are enjoying when it's really beautiful, okay, you have to be watchful not to objectify that into an experience, not to objectify it. Because when you objectify, you subjectify yourself, you separate yourself. You then have a subject and an object, and there is a pursuit and avoidance. You see? Now you're pursuing it and you're avoiding something else. So something else arises, oh, that's not it. I need to avoid that because I'm seeking this.
No, I don't feel I'm doing that, because when it's gone, and I'm just into the next thing and sort of enjoying the activity or even the thinking.
So then the next thing that I want to share with you is if then another experience arises where it is more tumultuous, more not as peaceful, let's say, okay? This is your opportunity to be so completely still and so completely surrendered to it. It's and just sort of like dive into it, just sort of feel it, experience it, become intimate with it. So that a stranger to you, it becomes so intimate with you, and you will realize that there's really nothing that is happening that is unhappy. But if you do not go to it, it will remain a label or some experience that you don't like.
Yeah.
So it's more.
So like, don't judge it.
It's more important for you to be working with getting intimate with what you don't like, rather than anything else.
Right.
The peace will come of itself, because we are that. It is when we are defending something, or we are seeking something, or we're trying to maintain something, because these tendencies are in us. We want to feel safe as a body mind. It has spilled over into the psychological realm. Now we imagine that the happiness has to be a body mind happiness, and it's not. There is no body mind happiness. Is just conceptual. Happiness is, it is our true nature. The body mind will cease to experience the contractions when we cease to make those distinctions between good and bad.
Yes.
You have to live whatever is arising, even the unhappy aspects in your life, to get closer and closer to them, to remain still and dispassionate about them, and to also recognize that whenever you are unhappy, you are, it is connected to your belief that you are a body mind, that you are somebody.
Well, it's interesting what you mentioned the word intimacy there, because part of my question was in the times of the peacefulness, and I'm not sure if this happens at the time or whether my mind's judging it after, but that it's very nice and it's very peaceful, but there isn't that intimacy, if you understand what I mean.
Well, if you are happy and at peace, forget about the intimacy.
Well, the reason I mention it, God, I nearly called you Mooji then. Please, God, no. It's because I'm concerned. It's detachment. I'm concerned that it. I'm calling it peaceful and happy, but maybe there's a slight detachment to it. Does that make sense to you? Because when you're talking to someone earlier, and whenever you talk about being intimate with the perception, you talk about you're actually seeing the perception. And I can never really understand what you're saying there. And I'm wondering if that's connecting to what I'm saying about I'm getting this lovely sense of peace and a quiet mind, and I'm not doing anything to make it come about, but yet it doesn't feel like there's an intimacy. It feels like a bit like what you're saying. You describe this intimacy with perception. It's like an emptiness, but there's no love in it, or it's just emptiness. It's not.
Yeah,
There's no intimacy. Yeah. It's like I hit a wall.
You know, the journey, let's say, is, of course, it's not journey, it's from here to here, but it is about happiness, peace and happiness. But across the board, causeless peace and happiness. And initially, we experience peace and happiness. But as peace and happiness becomes more and more our experience, we no longer notice it. We are it. On occasion, we notice it, our flares up of it. But overall, you are no longer disturbed by thoughts, by perceptions, by sensations, by experiences. You're no longer disturbed. And so if you are finding that it is, as you are saying, it is empty and not with the perfume, it's not alive, an alive emptiness. So there is some mind involved, because emptiness is fullness, and it's not an empty emptiness, it's a full emptiness. So if it's an emptiness that is empty without the love, without the beauty, without the peace, without the happiness, then it still needs to ripen. I would say that don't be attached to any experience. Be watchful of attaching yourself to an experience, because there is a mentation in it's after the insight. There are all sorts of thoughts about it, which try to make the insight an object and me a subject. So it goes back to the ignorance.
Yeah, maybe that is what I wondered if that was happening.
And the mind wants to grasp it, wants to say, well, that's what it is. That's what I got. That's what I'm experiencing. But whatever the mind is grasping is not the total enchilada. It's still grasping objects and forms.
Yeah.
Trust that not so much your mind, but the insights that come to you, let them be they going to find their way through you. They will do the work on their own. It is not about a personal experience. It's not about a better personal experience. It's about going beyond the realm of experiences, because all experiences refer to me, you see. And in terms of the intimacy, don't think about it. Just notice, and it's very moment. And then you can let it go. Notice, and in this very moment, whatever you're experiencing in complete intimacy, and as complete intimacy, meaning experiencing is yourself. Is not occurring, nothing is occurring outside of you. Just to notice that in this moment. And let it go. Don't hold on to it. Don't make homework, or some. If it arises for you on its own, then it's arising on its own. But don't take on some goals to accomplish. Just in this moment, recognize the I that has no name and no form. And that everything that has a name and a form is completely intimate with this I. How could anything arise without the I? How could this perception be without I? Yes? And is this perception apart from the I? Stay with that question. Keep it alive. Keep it alive for you. Is my experience apart from I?
I just struggle with that word I, Magdi.
With awareness. What word? With what word?
I like the word energy.
Energy?
Energy, yeah.
Okay.
Because it doesn't.
I don't like it so much.
I think, what? Pardon? What did you say?
I said
you don't like
I don't
that
like
one.
it too much.
Pardon? I didn't get. I
There's
can't get
many images about energy, atomic energy, and there's volcanic energy. I don't know, gravitational energy, but okay, fine. If you're okay with
but
that,
it didn't have any connotations for me. Energy.
Okay, good.
Yeah.
So notice that whatever you're experiencing, this perception right now, is not apart from the energy that is that is I. It's not some conceptual energy. It's the perception is one with the energy. We're not writing a dissertation about. We're talking about our direct experience. You have to bring in the self.
It's not about the words. Yeah.
You have to bring in the self. That myself. How about myself instead of I? Is intimate with myself. Whatever it is that perceives and the perception are one. And I don't care if you call the perception beautiful or ugly. That's mind stuff. I don't care. You want to call it ugly, beautiful, whatever. Doesn't matter.
That's what I'm always struggling with, the perception and I, or what you call I, are one.
And when you look out at the weather, one day it's sunny, next day it's rainy. They're both good, right? We say, oh no, it's rainy, it's bad. No, it's all good. It's all appearance. It's all weather. It all has its place in the cosmos. It has its reason to be. I don't need to understand that reason, but it has its reason to be. Who cares about understanding its reason? The tomatoes are happy to have a rain.
Yeah, yeah.
So it doesn't matter what is arising as an appearance on the screen, on the energy, to the energy, whichever way you refer to it.
Yeah.
Just notice, and in this moment, that what is the distance? What is the separation between awareness or energy, I, the self, and this? Zero. Right? That, contemplate that.
Yeah, I do. I am contemplating that. Yeah. Thank you, though, Magdi. That's a lot of help. Thank you.
Okay, Anne.
Enjoyed talking to you. Thank you very much.
Okay, Anne, you're welcome. Very quickly, Abdul, you had asked the question on YouTube. I heard a great analogy of us as being actors on stage who forgot they are playing a role. Only thing required is to realize you are not the role. Could you please elaborate on that very quickly? You are not an actor. You are not on the stage. There is no role. You are neither of that. All these are images. You are neither an actor nor a player nor a playwright. All these are metaphors. And one could say that, yes, we forget, somehow we overlook our true nature. We overlook the reality and the transparency of consciousness. And we imagine ourselves to be an actor on a stage. That's the dream. This is how consciousness plays the game of being somebody in the world. This is how consciousness experiences a world of objects and forms. But sooner or later, it will be time for you to realize that you are the dreamer of these dreams, and you are not a dream character in any of your dreams. Okay, well, we didn't get to some of the questions, but we'll get to them next time. Thank you all. Okay, Anne and Lee, Esther, Kate, Maya, Zoe, thank you all.
Thank you, Magdi.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay.